You're listening to the Control System Integrators Association's Talking Industrial Automation podcast, where you get to know the people that make modern manufacturing and processing possible. Now, here is your host, Tony Verhoeven.
Thanks for downloading the Talking Industrial Automation podcast. This is a show to help you get to know the people that make modern manufacturing and processing possible. I'll be talking industrial automation with CSIA system integrators and industry partners to get a better understanding of how they help their clients solve manufacturing and process challenges, and how they became successful in their careers. Along the way, we will touch on system integration best practices, technology, trends, and challenges. Whether you are a manufacturer, end user, supplier, or system integrator, I hope you will enjoy the insights CSIA members will bring to this podcast. Hi, it's Tony Verhoeven, and we're talking industrial automation with Tim Matheny of ECS Solutions. Hi, Tim. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Tony. It's always a pleasure.
Very good. And I look forward to seeing you in San Francisco. You are going to San Francisco, right?
I am not.
You're not?
I'm actually going with my son to Israel for most of the month of April. So hopefully I'll be learning something.
What's happening in Israel?
The two of us are taking a seminary level class.
Okay.
So part of the class is to take a trip and learn more about kind of just how the geography of the land played into the whole story of the Old Testament and the development of the country of Israel. And what it means that it was really a crossroads of the world at that time, and how many different at that time superpowers fought over this tiny little spot of land that otherwise is, pretty unimportant. That's
fascinating stuff. I mean, you can read about it in history books and read scripture, but to actually go there and kind of see that is going to be a really cool experience for you. And
well, if you're like me, when you get to those hard to pronounce names, you just kind of go mumble, 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 and such and such king that you can't pronounce his name either.
Right.
So it all tends to swim together.
Right. Well, that sounds like a great trip, and good father-son bonding time.
There you go.
Very good. Very good. Well, sorry, we'll miss you here. We'd love to talk to you a little bit today about your business, your involvement with CSIA, a little bit how you got here, and we'll kind of meander and wander around a little bit if that's okay.
I'm excited. Let's get started.
Very good. Very good. So tell us. Let's start with CSIA. How did you become involved with CSIA? And maybe if you want to also kind of tell how you kind of how long you've been in business, and maybe where along that timeline you discovered CSIA.
My father-in-law started our business in 1977, so we've been around a long time. And I joined the business in 1982 when he was employee number 3 after my mother-in-law. So I've been around with ECS for a long time. My first exposure to CSIA, one of my employees somehow found out about it and mentioned it to me. And the next conference was in New Orleans, which is a favorite city of mine. And I thought, sounds like a jaunt. Let's go check it out. And I got hooked. The conference is really a powerful thing that CSIA does, the ability to network with other owners. And at that particular time, I was trying to figure out a bonus system for my employees. And so I had a great opportunity in 3 days, 2.5 back then, to network and talk to 10 different owners and ask them, what have you tried from a bonus system? What's worked and what's not worked? And I came back with 10 different ideas and smashed them together. And, the bonus system we put into effect is still there today. We still use it almost unchanged. So that was my first exposure, to coming to the conference and talking to other owners and sharing ideas and benefiting from it. So,
outstanding.
Back in those days, we used to go around the room and stand up and introduce ourselves individually. It was It was really different.
Yeah, it was a small, tight group back there, back
Very
then
small,
here.
tight group. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And nowadays, we have 430 or something like that system integrators in the group here. So probably hard to, you probably still have some good friends and know those people, but it's hard to know everybody on a personal level when you get that level.
Well, Tony, I think the second most powerful thing about the CSIA after the conference is we've added peer groups. And the peer groups, I like to say, are a way to make CSIA small again. So you really have the best of both worlds. The fact that we've grown to be a large and influential organization with a diverse group of people that have a diverse backgrounds and opinions and ideas. And yet, you still can create that cadre of close companions in your peer group that kind of make it small again. I think it's so powerful, the two together.
I like that. Yeah, exactly. I think CSIA is still a small kind of niche organization. Not everybody knows about it, but when people find it, in fact, I was just at an industry conference last week, and it was amazing at how many system integrators that came up and said, "There's a global trade organization for system integrators." I had no idea.
Imagine that.
Right, exactly. So it's good to be kind of discovered and found and kind of help them bring them in to know folks like yourself, because you've been in business for a long time. And so, I talk to these newer system integrators who've been around maybe for 5 or 6 years or 10 years or something, like even 10 years. And I'm sure they, to be in a peer group with someone like yourself could definitely learn a lot. And you probably could learn from them as well.
The conference really is a powerful part of CSIA. As a matter of fact, this conference will be the second one I missed since our first conference years ago. The only other one was my daughter's wedding. And so I think that's 2 pretty good excuses going out of the country and having a wedding. Otherwise, I would not miss the conference for any reason at all.
Those are good excuses, definitely. Yeah, we can appreciate that.
But I tried to make a whole sentence there so you'd have something to cut.
All right. Well, Tim, let's go back now a little bit here. So, you started. You said 1982 is when you started the business, or when you joined the business?
No, our business was founded in 1977.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And I joined the business in 1982.
Okay.
In the spring, and then became its president and owner around 1992.
Got it. So tell me what were some of those early years like? I think some of our listeners and viewers might like to appreciate, might like to hear, what were some of those programming years like? What were those things going on? I suspect you were probably, I suspect the word maybe Fortran and punch cards might come up in our conversation.
No, well, I it's not that I didn't know Fortran and use punch cards in college, but in the controls world, those are the days of the Rockwell Allen Bradley PLC, then Allen Bradley, not Rockwell. Back in those days, the PLC2 was the newest and greatest thing. My first program that I ever wrote was for a GE 400 Logitrol, and was documented using ink on Mylar drawings. So there was no way to print out or even visually really see on a screen what your program looked like. In the Modicon world, it was the old P190. Rockwell had a CRT that was black and white, but no way to print your program out and document it. We bought a system from a company called Zycom. We were the only firm of any kind, an end user or integrator, in the entire state of Indiana that could print out programs on tractor feed, green line, wide paper. And we had people call us from all over the state asking us to document the programs for them. That was before the IBM PC. This was a Unix computer. The first big job that I worked on, I used a Radio Shack TRS-80 Model 4 computer. And just to create a database of the devices that I had to program for and then manage my, oh, really? Those were the dark ages. Those were, you thought, when to make a program change meant getting your eraser out and erasing ink off of Mylar, you thought about your changes. You didn't just punch them in and say, oh, that didn't work, and then try again and say, oh, that works better.
Right. Iterations, iterative like programming was not a thing, right? It was like you had to fix it and it had to work right. Yeah, interesting. I had no idea that was a thing. So thanks for helping me learn that. So there's someone else out there listening that is definitely nodding and feeling the pain.
No, I'm sure. I'm not alone in this experience at all.
Very good. Very good. So what were those first few years look like? I mean, I guess I want to maybe talk a little bit to like dealing with customers that had problems. Obviously technology's changed, but have customers always kind of asked for the same thing, right? Are they always trying to get at the same thing, like produce more for less, reduce downtime? Is that kind of what they were asking for then, or has that evolved?
Customers' desires have really evolved, and so has our approach to the market. Back in those days, programmable controllers replaced panels of relays and motor starters. And they were viewed as a replacement, and a control system upgrade was really replacing what you had. Today, with the powerful tools that we have, we're backing off and saying, how do we really help manage not just the process of making the stuff, but the whole process of how you manage the factory that makes the stuff and make the whole gambit more efficient. So our scope has gone from very focused on the functionality of the equipment that makes whatever our client is making to all of their business processes surrounding that. It's a huge change and required people with different abilities and skills and backgrounds and knowledge to tackle those kinds of problems.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And has the customer's attitude or their requests, has that changed, or is that, I mean, business is business probably maybe at its root level. Are they still kind of asking for that kind of same type of thing?
Many customers still ask for a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
And many, because honestly, that's the easiest and cheapest thing to do. And they get focused on a fixed budget, and this is the money I have, and I've got this obsolete equipment and I have to replace it. And they really don't think about the life cycle value opportunities of putting in a system that helps them really run their plant better. And some customers ask for that, some customers don't. There's a whole bunch in the middle that we try to coach them and say, look, you're really leaving a lot of money on the table. Whereas an acquaintance of mine, Dr. Peter Martin, likes to say, you're not maximizing the value of your control system. It should be not a cost center. It should be a profit center to put in a better control system.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about kind of what a customer asks for versus what you end up doing for them, right? Because they may not understand, that cost center to revenue center type of change in paradigm, right? So how often, or maybe it's every time, when they come in with an RFP and they say, here, Tim, we want you to bid on this project, how much are you nudging them or shoving them to maybe a different thought process about approaching a project?
Well, I would say, Tony, the only answer I can give you to that question is it depends. Some customers really believe in, we know what we want, here's our functional spec, okay? And they have very good reasons for that, and we respect those reasons. Other customers, we suggest to ways that they could really, without increasing their costs hardly at all, opened the horizons to a lot more savings. And in doing that, we've helped customers achieve some amazing results. We've had a customer, be able to, with advanced software tools, manage the cleaning of their process equipment in a way that they created 8 more production hours capacity in a week. Every week. Mm-hmm. That's a lot more stuff they can make. I've had a plant manager call me and say, "We've never made this much bread before. What did you guys do?"
I love that.
Like, okay, this is what we were trying to explain to you, that a slightly bigger investment in software can have a huge payoff in how well your factory is managed. And so then we create believers.
Is there a specific, now that's a great example. Is there another kind of great maybe success story kind of off the tip of your tongue, or that you maybe tell other customers about that you can reference, like, hey, you know what, we got 25% increase in production, or we ultimately they were able to make more bread, and that's real profit, right? Is there another example that you can share?
Sure. And a product that I can mention, because they've allowed us, is Ragu spaghetti sauce. And we helped them build a plant years ago, put a new control system in, and we pretty much insisted on delivering a higher level of automation than their spec required. And they agreed, as long as we didn't charge them more money, which we didn't do, because we knew the payoff would be there, and ultimately it would be easier for us, and they would be happier and they would buy more later.
Right.
And their projected payoff from the renovation project was somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 or 7 million annually in cost savings. And they measured an extra $1 million that they attributed to the automation that we gave them.
Wow.
A year. And they only paid like $2.2 million for the control system.
Right.
So that's what I mean about your controls can be a profit center, not a cost center.
That's great. That's a great, everybody talks about ROI. There you go. That's a great ROI.
Yeah, absolutely. The bread maker that's making more bread, I mean, he paid us $60,000 or $70,000. And in addition to making more bread, we part of how we made more bread for him was that we delivered his ingredients more quickly through the process, but we also delivered the ingredients more accurately. And 4 months after the project was done and paid for, he called us and said, "I just want to let you guys know that the expensive flavoring ingredients that we put into our breads, we're able to hold a closer tolerance on our deliveries and be at the lower side of the tolerance area more accurately without producing any out-of-spec product. And we expect to save $100,000 a year just in reduced product cost."
Wow.
And they paid $70,000 for the solution.
So
they got payback in 1 year from the product cost savings, and they got all the additional bread they were making every week for free.
Right. There's an easy joke, and I'm going to take it. More bread means more bread for them, right? So,
yeah, there you go. For a bread maker, it does.
It was such an
it's
easy teed up joke. I had to make it, right? So, all right.
Yeah.
So
Tony, I think both of those, there are public magazine articles out there that could be referenced. I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but.
Yeah. Well, if you have those, I'd be happy to make those available here in the show notes and in the video notes here as well. Okay. So if you'd like to share those, sure. I'd be happy to make sure.
Just whatever you say is appropriate. I mean, this should be about CSIA, really. how CSIA has impacted ECS.
Well, we're having a conversation, so it's about you, and obviously, we do grades by CSIA, but also I'd love to hear about some of these success stories, because ultimately, we hope a customer happens upon this and gets to know you better and says, "Hey, that sounds good. Maybe I should talk to those guys. We can make more bread or more spaghetti." Very good. So let's talk about, now we've talked about food a little bit here. Is that a specialty that ECS is? Are you more into food engineering and process engineering, or is that just a bit of what you do?
In 2009, ECS invented some technology that we're pursuing patents on that helped us to produce a batch process control system more quickly and more accurately with a higher feature set than can be done with the typical tools available in the marketplace. And we use that successfully in a number of different ways. Food is our biggest volume area. I'm saying a lot, I'm sorry. Food is currently ECS's biggest volume vertical market, but historically our markets were not food. After we invented this technology, we were able to move more into batch process, and that became a focus for our company. So we're actually still, I would call us in a transition from our three traditional vertical markets to a process vertical market. We've done chemical, specialty chemical, in addition to food and beverage, bourbon, et cetera, et cetera. So, but food has become our biggest volume right at the moment.
Great. So I see on your shirt there, it says something about 2016 Integrator of the Year.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit here. That's a pretty cool accomplishment.
Yeah. So we got the award, and I'm still kind of amazed. I'll be honest with you. I think about ECS as being a small company and really a small city in the middle of the United States. And how do we get noticed? How do we stick out? We decided to apply for this, and actually, amazingly to me, won the award the first time we applied. I can say to you honestly, Tony, that I think that there are 50 other integrators in the CSIA that could win this award if they put their mind to it and applied themselves to it. And I can also say to you without any hesitation, ECS could never have won this award were we not a certified member of CSIA. The rigor required for us to not just follow best practices in what we do, but document that we're following those best practices helps us to be a much better company in many ways. And this award is just one recognition of the payoff of that. There's many others. We also, I have another payoff to being certified is that I see a much more consistent gross margin level on our projects. And because we do the right thing every time, we manage risk and we avoid risk by following proven practices and procedures. And that makes us more consistent in our delivery. Customers love that. They know what they're going to get. I sometimes say that buying a controls integration project is like buying a vacation. There's lots of pretty pictures, lots of promises and smiles. And then if it rains, you're kind of screwed. So, we try to say to the customers, this is how you get a consistent, known deliverable from us so that your vacation is always sunny. And we prove it with a track record.
Very good. I appreciate that. So are there any particular, the best practices, there's like 9 chapters, and I want to say there's like 300 plus best practices that you had to adhere to get certified. Is there, if you were speaking to a system integrator who says, geez, this is a really big elephant, and I know I got to chew it one bite at a time, where do I start? Is there any particular chapter or best practice that you think you felt right away, or that your customers felt, or is most impactful on your business, especially for an integrator who sees certification as just, far off thing?
Sure. Tony, picking a best practice that was most beneficial to ECS would not be necessarily beneficial to another firm. What I did in starting out was to go through the best practices, and I actually started looking for best practices. I thought, oh, I'm good at that already. This would be an easy one to knock off. And that's where I started to really recognize I'm not as good as maybe I thought I was. And when I'm going to compare myself to best practices that have been assembled from multiple company owners of some of the best companies in the world at control integration, that I've got a lot to learn. We took 7 or 8 years from when we started certification till we first called the auditor and tried to pass. And when we did, we passed with flying colors. So had I been braver, perhaps we could have gotten certified earlier. And in that time, we improved our company in untold ways. Better insurance, better changed some of our accounting practices to improve them. Had advice, for me, beneficial. Now I'm going to answer your question anyway. Sorry. I'm going to answer your question directly. For me, the best practices that benefited me the most had to do with how to run a business, because I was a programmer and an engineer and a nerd. I've always been those things. What I didn't know is how to manage money, protect myself from theft, insure myself appropriately, beyond just saying insurance is something you have to have because it's in a bid spec, right? Those are all business things that I learned. For someone else, it might be different. Someone else may be more adept at business, and they would learn from better project management techniques or processes to follow for configuration management, that sort of thing.
Right. So chapter 1, I think that's chapter 1, right? That's general management, I think is the subject heading on that one. So
that started at the beginning, and I was already, knocked low and learning on chapter 1.
You start at the beginning. Very good. So Tim, is there something unique about how you guys approach a project compared to your competitors, or something that you've learned maybe through the best practices, project management best practices, or is there something kind of like that the customer feels and how you manage a project?
I think that we have learned over the years to position ourselves to be our customer's trusted advisor, as opposed to a vendor that they buy stuff from. Not that we don't quote on things and win based on low price. Sure, everyone does that. We do too. But our best repeat customers are the customers that we serve to them as a trusted advisor in how they can improve their business. And we are working with them to say, look, let's measure an area of your process that needs improvement. Let's determine what the cost justification is. We do some of that stuff even for free in order to induce them to do it. And then lo and behold, there's a little project that needs to be done to achieve the results. And we show them over and over that we can get the results, and they keep coming back. We technologically, we've got our innovation that sets us apart, but that's applicable to process systems, and particularly batch process systems. That lets us deliver a very consistent control system. We've done more and more what used to be called MES. Now we call it MOM, or Manufacturing Operations Management Solutions, where we help clients to manage their equipment and their processes and their people, even in a way that helps them to be more efficient. So those are all things that are different. And like I said earlier, there are things that are required today. Being a good PLC programmer is just assumed, right?
Right.
You have to be able to do more. So sometimes I like to ask our clients, what do you make? And inadvertently they say spaghetti sauce or bourbon or beer. I said, no, you don't. You make money. That's the vehicle you use to make money. And do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I say that engages us with the clients and says to them, we know you're all about making money. Okay, let's do that.
Right, exactly. You can make spaghetti sauce or pasta or bread, and it can cost you money, or you can make money. So that's Yeah, it's not always the end, right? It's the mean. It is the means, as the old saying going. And what does that mean? Yeah,
for getting to the end, which is to be profitable and return to shareholders and pay higher salaries to employees and
reinvest and all of that sort of thing. So yeah. Very good. Very good. So besides the best practices, which is kind of an institutional thing, what would you attribute, I guess, to your mindset, or what kind of mindset do you have that kind of sets you apart and makes you kind of successful? Obviously, you've been here for 36 years in this business. What about Tim Matheny kind of makes you successful?
Well, asking me what about me makes me successful, Tony, is kind of like an open door to kick myself, I think. Honestly, I think I am successful because everyone that works at ECS is successful. I really see my role with this company as one that I'm providing the sandbox that all of the smart people who work here can play in. They're the ones doing amazing stuff. I'm the old guy who can't do any real work anymore, that asks the stupid questions that make them think. Just make them think, right? And then they come up with amazing things. And I've learned over the years that I don't have to write programs anymore to sort of feed my technological desires to be successful. I can be happy seeing the success of all of the other people that work at ECS. And so what do I contribute to ECS, or what do I think it is about me that's made ECS successful? It's really understanding that a company, no one person in our company can think as well or do as much as we can when we work as a team. And I'm just another person. I happen to have the responsibility of taking care of the company from an administrative point of view and making like I said, the sandbox available. But other people have powerful roles here too. And together we're more.
Good words, great words of a good leader. Definitely. I think that's exactly what I think people expected you to say. So those are good words. So you didn't beat yourself up at all. And I'm glad you were not humble. So appreciate that. Let's talk a little bit about, maybe the folks that might be listening to this that are thinking about, maybe they're electrical engineers or going to get their double E. What would you say to them about, they might not even know that control systems engineering even exists, or maybe they do, but they don't even know what it all entails. What would you say to that kind of new generation about this business, and what's kind of cool and attractive about it as a career?
Here in the last few years, let me start over. Sometimes people come up to me and ask me, what do you do? What is your job? What does ECS do? And in the last few years, I've begun to say, you know, that TV show, How Things Are Made, that is my life. I get to go into plants and see how everything in the world is made. And I find it fascinating. I find it amazing. And the people that work with ECS that also tend to be that way. We think it's really cool to learn how to put pickles in a jar, you know, or whatever our customers need us to do, and understand their problems that they're struggling with and affect the lives of other people in this country by what we do. We just think it's fun. And fortunately, it can be fun and we can still get paid for it, you know? And that to me is success. A company that can be fun and we can still all get paid.
The secret is success, right? Find something you like to do and
do it. Yep. And enjoy it. And in Proverbs, it says that the best that a man can have out of life is to enjoy his toil under the sun. There is nothing in life better than to enjoy your job. You spend so much time at it. And so if you can enjoy what you do, enjoy your work, then that's a great thing in life. And we try to provide that to employees. We try to be that and have that for ourselves.
Very good. Very good. So let's go way back here, Tim. Here, where did you grow up, and what did your parents do? Let's talk a little bit about pre-controls engineer, Tim.
So I grew up in central Illinois, a town called Decatur, which is known as the soybean capital of the world. Because guess what? We have a lot of soybeans in central Illinois. It used to be the corporate headquarters of the two largest corn milling companies in the world. Archer Daniels Midland is still headquartered in Decatur. And at that time, another company called A.E. Staley was also headquartered in Decatur. No one would know of A.E. Staley today because they've been bought and absorbed. But Mr. Staley started the Chicago Bears. George Hallis was a Staley employee. He gave the team to George, and they were an industrial league team before the Chicago Bears. So very involved in Illinois history and politics. So I went to work in a corn milling plant when I got out of college as an engineer. And I thought that I'd have a mechanical engineering degree, which is kind of different for someone who's done controls and software programming all their life. But I've been able to solve as many control problems with a dial indicator as I've been able to solve with a volt. So I really think that I tell people all the time, understanding the machine mechanically is way more important than knowing how fast the electrons get from one end of the wire to the next. It's good enough to know they get there.
There's certain things we can count on.
That's right.
In life and in physics, right? In physical science.
I went to college in Terre Haute, Indiana, and a little Division III school that's never on the TV, Rose-Hulman. And met my wife there. Like I said, married into a job. So after I worked at Staley's for a year and a half, then I came to work at ECS, and those are the only two places I've ever worked.
Very good. Very good. And so, what were those, I guess years growing up like, when you were, you decided to get a mechanical engineering degree? Did you grow up always, well, you said you were always a nerd, right? So
I was always a nerd. And Tony, when I was growing up, even back when I was a child, I was interested in efficiency. And my mother thought I was lazy. Okay. When I would respond to her and she'd say, "Why are you not mowing the yard?" And I said, "I'm thinking of the best way to do it." And she said, "Get out there and get the mower going." So I like to think I was always an engineer and I was always interested in efficiency, but my mom thinks I was just lazy.
And so what did your parents do?
I'm sorry?
What did your parents do for a living?
My father is a career engineer for Caterpillar, and he designed transmissions and steering gear for motor graders, which is really incredibly complicated if you understand about how a motor grader loads in the middle and the wheels have to tilt and turn, and how do you make this thing go straight, when you're trying to scrape dirt. He's got a number of patents for Caterpillar, design level things mechanically. And then he ended up, when I was in high school, he got involved in reliability statistics for Caterpillar and got put on a board for the University of Illinois Center for Supercomputing, and represented Caterpillar on that board. At that time, Illinois was the only institution other than the U.S. government that had 2 Cray computers. And I don't know how many readers have heard of Cray computers, but that was the thing. And Dad and Caterpillar were interested in running software called finite elements analysis that today we run on our PCs. But back in those days, this was new stuff.
Yeah. I heard of Cray. I mean, even when I was growing up, Cray computer was like the equivalent of like Big Blue or Deep Blue or IBM, the big, huge supercomputer. Yeah. That was kind of like what was.
So I grew up going to Illinois, knowing professors that were involved in Illinois and being on the edges of the developing of supercomputing. Dad was also involved in a project at Illinois. And I talked to some of the students and professors that were working on a massively parallel processor system that was 1,024 IBM 286 chips or 386 chips. I mean, today we would laugh at it, right? But it was designing a computer that could do more faster. But that always piqued my interest in computing and computing technology. So I went into mechanical engineering at Rose-Hulman because it's pretty much general engineering, and I wasn't sure what I would do. Had the dream, like many young men do, to be in management, and now I am, and not sure it was a good move. But no, I'm happy with my life and where I'm at.
Very good. Very good. Well, so as we're thinking about wrapping up here, what are some of the, obviously, you've been doing this a long time, and you've seen a lot of changes. What's kind of going on right now in automation that is, I guess, gets you out of bed every morning? I mean, you love your job and stuff, but what's kind of really trending and cool that you see is really motivating these days?
There's so much going on in automation that's new these days. It's hard to pick any one thing. And in fact, a lot of things to me overlap, like the Internet of Things. And to me, when I think about it, that overlaps with the proliferation of personal devices, small mobile screens in manufacturing, which is something we've never had, really. Everything was mounted in industrial strength. Now we have clients that use iPads or other mobile devices. We see more collaboration, where less of where you have an expert and more where you've got people collaborating with what you might think of, Tony, as social media type tools and capabilities, but they're sharing ideas and working on problems together as a team, as opposed to calling the expert to do everything. We also are working on service technology, where clients can expect that software that we run in their facility calls us and engages us. So if you can imagine that instead of letting this third shift electrician struggle with a problem until the plant manager comes in at 7 a.m. and starts screaming about why production has been down for 4 hours, 30 minutes into it, one of our guys calls that electrician and says, hey, could you use some help? And we get the problem solved quicker and saves the company lots of money. So that's another technology and change that we're working on. And how is that different than the Internet of Things? Not much. Mm-hmm. These things all play together in today's modern manufacturing facility.
Very good. Very good. Well, Tim, I really appreciate you sitting down with me and taking so much time to kind of go through the business and kind of how you got here. Is there any kind of parting words or anything you'd like to share beyond what I've already asked?
I think I told you all my stories already.
No, that's completely fine. I wanted to make sure we touched on everything that you wanted to talk about, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. Control systems engineering and what it's really become is a passion of mine. I really enjoy it, and I really enjoy teaching young people and showing customers the enjoyment that can come out of the success of making your company more efficient, making a product better or better quality in a way that affects the lives of people who are pulling something off a grocery store shelf or whatever the product plays into. And to me, it's fun, to help people make stuff better, faster, cheaper than ever before.
Very cool. I love it. That's exciting stuff. And hopefully kind of going again back to that, those newer engineers or those younger engineers to see this. Cause I know that, finding probably good folks to bring into your business is probably a challenging thing. So we want to make sure that they understand this is a cool thing.
Finding folks is a big challenge. And we've been very fortunate that the last 2 years, we set a sales record by the end of the third quarter. That means we need more and more people. And we now have a HR person working here. What she is doing almost entirely is screening applicants and getting interviews organized and set up so that we can continue to expand ECS's workforce.
Very good. Tim, again, thanks so much. I appreciate you joining the show and talking with me. We've been talking industrial automation with Tim Matheny and ECS Solutions. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tony. Have a great day.
If you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd also appreciate a like, share, and comments about what you hear. Visit CSIAexchange.com/podcast for a full list of episodes, to subscribe, or to contact us. We'd like to hear what topics you want to learn about and who you'd like to hear from. Music provided by bensound.com under a Creative Commons license. This is a production of the Control System Integrators Association, CSIA.
Thanks for listening to the Talking Industrial Automation podcast. Read the Industrial Automation blog and find and research qualified system integrators at CSIAexchange.com. For more information on why your system integrator should be CSIA certified, visit controlsys.org, controlsys.org.